On the eve of the 2024 presidential election, Vice President Kamala Harris leads former President Donald Trump by 4 points among likely voters nationally, according to the most recent PBS News/NPR/Marist poll. Harris has the support of 51% of likely voters, compared to 47% for Trump, a lead that is just outside the poll's 3.5-point margin of error. The Republican nominee has a 5-point lead over Harris among independents, with slightly more than half backing him. It has been and remains a close election, said Lee Myringoff, director of the Marist Institute for Public Opinion. The popular vote is hers to lose. We've gone through all of this to get back to pretty much where you ended up 4 years ago. The 2024 campaign has been shaped by dramatic events unprecedented in modern American history, including the sitting president and presumptive Democratic nominee withdrawing from the race less than 4 months before Election Day, the first woman of color nominated as a major party candidate, 2 assassination attempts on the Republican nominee, and more. Despite this, the likely voters surveyed in this poll closely resemble the 2020 electorate, which favored President Joe Biden with 51% of the popular vote against Trump's 47%. Behind the headline data, Myringoff saw certain marginal changes that explain why alliances are building around the 2 candidates and polling continues to show a close race. Most impressively, the gender gap has been reduced by half over the last month of the campaign. Trump maintains his lead among men, but it has shrunk to 4 points, down from 16 points over Harris in October. At the same time, the most recent survey found that 55% of women backed Harris. The vice president's lead among women has shrunk from 18 to 11 points since last month. According to AP VoteCast electorate surveys, the gender difference in this poll is nearly equivalent to the one between Biden and Trump in 2020. When it comes to race, the most recent poll reveals a small shift in support for the 2 candidates since the previous presidential election. Trump leads Harris 54% to 45% among white voters, albeit her 9-point deficit is a little improvement over Trump's 12-point lead in 2020. Harris, on the other hand, has seen a dip in support from Black and Latino voters, who together account for nearly 20% of the vote in 2020. Harris is backed by 83% of likely Black voters and 61% of likely Latino voters, which is 8 and 2 percentage points lower than Biden's support in 2020, respectively. In recent weeks, the vice president's closing argument to voters has concentrated on reaching out to disillusioned Republican voters and reminding them of the instability she alleges Trump brought with him to the White House. Harris has campaigned in battleground states alongside prominent Republican endorsers such as former Representatives Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. According to a PBS News/NPR/Marist investigation, her efforts may be paying off. 8% of Republicans say they would vote for Harris, a 3-point increase from a month ago and twice as many as Democrats who say they will vote for Trump. In a close race, that could be a big deal, Myringoff added. The University of Florida Election Lab claims that over 78 million ballots have already been cast. In this poll, 55% of likely voters said they had already voted. 1/3 of respondents prefer to vote in person on Election Day, including 40% of Trump supporters. Among those who have already voted, Harris leads Trump by 56% to 42%. However, 53% of voters who have yet to cast their ballots want to vote for Trump, while 45% support Harris. Polls released in the final hours of presidential elections frequently receive disproportionate attention, such as a Des Moines Register poll released over the weekend that showed Harris with a 3-point lead over Trump in Iowa, and a trio of Marist polls released at the end of last week that found Harris leading Trump in the blue wall states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. However, both Democrats and Republicans are quick to point out that what counts is the outcome of the vote on Tuesday. Myringoff offers a similar warning to poll-obsessed political analysts. This is not going to tell you who will win and who will carry each state. It just shows that she has the advantage going in, Myringoff added. The polls have been continuing to monitor just how polarized the nation is.